took in the worn backpack beside the sleeping child, but nothing looked familiar. A green sign flashed past as the car weaved. Rock Harbor, 10 miles. She had no idea where this town was located, not even what state. Maybe she was just tired, too frightened to think, to plan. Her head ached abominably, and her vision continued to waver. Headlights haloed with distorted rings of color sprang into view behind her, and the panic surged into her throat again. She pressed her foot to the accelerator. He couldn't find her. The car responded to the acceleration at first. Her tires zoomed along the road, their hum sounding loud inside the car. The other vehicle receded in her rear-view mirror, but her elation faded when the wheel shuddered in her hands. The engine coughed. "No, no," she moaned. "Not now." He would catch her. She struggled for a name to put with the danger, but it wouldn't come. If her head would just quit aching, she could think. The car convulsed again, then began to slow. The warning lights on the dash blinked, then held steady, glaring their threat into the night. She fought the wheel as the power steering failed with the engine. The sore muscles in her arms screamed. She managed to steer the car onto the shoulder of the road. Glancing behind her, she saw the lights were no longer following her, but that didn't mean he wasn't back there. Somewhere. Every moment that ticked by brought him closer. Cranking the key, she tried to start the engine. "Come on," she whispered. "Oh, God, please help me." The engine turned over slowly but didn't catch. She tried again, and it coughed to shuddering life. It wouldn't run long the way it missed. She had to get the car out of sight, throw him off her trail. A small path opened between thick, ice-frosted brush. Though it wasn't a real lane, she pulled onto it and caught the glimmer of moon on water. A plan sprang to life, but she found it hard to think through all the ramifications. She put her hand on her pounding temple, and her fingers brushed a bump on her scalp, a lump so big and tender that her misery increased. Her stomach convulsed with nausea. She stopped the car, opened the door, leaned out, and threw up. She couldn't remember ever hurting so much. She could still feel the knife slicing through her flesh. A knife? Where had that thought come from? Surely she hadn't been stabbed. Had she? She groaned and laid her forehead against the steering wheel. Someone had tried to kill her. Somehow, she knew this. The car engine still sputtered. He would find her, kill her, finish the job he had started. She got out and inhaled the cold night air tinged with moisture. The fresh, clean scent penetrated her mental fog and gave her hope. Staggering and dizzy, she managed to get the toddler out, car seat and all, and set the seat with the sleeping child on the ground. The child's parka lay inside the car by the backpack. She tucked it around the little girl. Her vision blackened, and she thumped down beside the child and put her head between her knees. Once her sight cleared, she crawled to the car door again and hauled herself to her feet. She took out the backpack, then sat on the edge of the seat with her feet on the ground. Unzipping it, she checked the contents. A small purse, changes of clothing for the child. She dropped the backpack beside the child and staggered back to the driver's door and got in. She pulled the transmission lever into drive, then guided the car toward the lake. The water showed under a light coating of ice, so the car should plunge right through. The speedometer showed 25 miles per hour. She shoved open the door and sprang from the car. Her shoulder slammed into the ice-slicked knoll. The impact knocked the air out of her. She lay face down in mud while the pain thundered in her head and her side. The agony pushed out all other thoughts. The blood running down her side and pooling under her felt warm. With a groan, she welcomed the darkness that blotted out her pain and terror. Her dreams were punctuated with screams and the sound of crying. Gradually, she became aware that the cries were real. She moaned, then sat up and pushed her hair out of her face. The level of pounding in her head had eased off, maybe enough to think. She lurched to her feet. The car! Glancing around, she saw the vehicle was gone. How long had she been unconscious? Staggering, she started toward the toddler. "It's okay, baby," she crooned, her voice hoarse and sore as if she'd been screaming.